Buongiorno agli ospiti in sala Buzzati e a chi sta seguendo la diretta streaming in occasione del Fashion Luxury Talk. All'interno del panorama internazionale come quello attuale, quali sono i cambiamenti avvenuti e ipotizzabili? Lo chiediamo ad Adam Cochrane, analista con ben oltre 20 anni di esperienza e attualmente General Retail and Luxury Equity Research Analyst presso la Deutsche Bank a Londra, da dove è collegato in questo momento. Good morning, Mr. Cochrane, and thank you for agreeing to participate in Corriere della Sera Talk.
Thank you, Gianluca.
Thank you, Adam. The first question about the market and your presence can help us understand the luxury market today. A complex international panorama today and the result of different factors, the pandemic, which ended in 2023, the political structure, and the markets transformed by conflict, climate change, which has also affected the choice of products. What is the situation now?
Well, thank you for having me here today. I think it's fair to say that the luxury sector has seen some rather significant changes alongside the wider world over the last 4 or 5 years. But it's come out looking pretty well from these changes. I think if you look at overall luxury consumption since before the pandemic to where we are now, we've seen a significant step up across most markets. A lot of the companies have had to change some of the ways they do business, which customers are in which areas. But by and large, I think we've seen a pretty robust industry coming out of some of these changes. In terms of some of the areas where we have seen significant changes, I think that the most obvious one to the luxury segment has been the change in touristic flows between where the Chinese consumer shopping much more significantly in mainland China compared to Europe, and then maybe now moving into nearer Asia Pacific, so Japan, Korea, rather than Europe. They are slowly coming back. But what you've had to see is the European luxury companies cater much more to the domestic consumer. So for the local Italians, the local French consumers, they have become much more important to the luxury companies in those regions than they were previously. So compared to a lot of industries where I think there has been substantial change and uncertainty over the period, luxury has come out of these changes rather well. And part of that is driven by, I think fundamentally, people want to buy luxury products. And as you've seen some changes in behavior, whether it's money being saved because they couldn't go into entertainment, they couldn't go traveling as much, that a lot of that fell into luxury. And so over the course of the last 5 years, I think compared to many industries, luxury goods has had a very successful period. We might come on to it, but one of the issues now is we are facing a normalization in trends from some of those rather significant periods over the last few years of both volume and pricing growth across the industry.
Thank you. So it's really interesting, and this international scenario. But how about the Italian market in this context in particular?
So I think the Italian companies, there's been some divergence in performance between different brands over the last few years. I think that's become very clear, certainly in the last 12 to 18 months, that some of the best performing categories, the sort of the quiet luxury end has really performed maybe more so than some of the overt branded. But I would say on average, France, Italy, they're the home of luxury. You've seen the Italian companies doing well. In terms of the Italian consumer, I think we are starting to see a reasonably healthy development of the European consumer compared probably to what we're seeing in Asia and in the US at the moment. So Europe is the relative bright spot for consumption at the moment. And I think within Italy, I think the consumer has followed that trend.
Italy and France have always been countries linked to the big luxury brand. Many of these are listed in the stock exchange. Can you share an overview of the luxury brand performance in the stock market?
I think as I alluded to, there's been some quite big divergences in performance between the luxury companies in in the last 12 to 18 months. In fact, in the first quarter of this year, between the top performing and bottom performing brands, there may have been as much as a 40 percentage point difference in performance between the outperformers and the underperformers during that period. What is unique to France and Italy is that the authenticity, the heritage that the brands coming from those markets, that's not going to change. It's very hard to see brands coming from other countries coming to replicate any of the legitimacy that brands from both France and Italy have got. In terms of how the companies have performed, again, there has been some differentiation, but by and large, it's safer to say that the larger luxury groups have generally outperformed some of the smaller ones. They've been, with the extra resources they've got, they've been able to sort of spend more on marketing. They've been able to buy more of the supply chain to improve some of their ability the transparency down the supply chain. That's not to say that some of the smaller brands, particularly in Italy, haven't done very well. Some of them have been able to potentially move out of some of their core categories into other areas, certainly with a geographic expansion, moving maybe from a pure winter wear exposure to more summer ranges and footwear as well as outerwear. And then you've got a number of brands where at the premium price point, the quality of their ready-to-wear products is second to none in the world. It'd be very hard, I think, to find product quality higher than some of those Italian luxury brands.
Another phase of luxury is the evolution in relation to sustainability. How has the luxury market changed? Does the green luxury concept help the market?
I think my view on sustainability in luxury is twofold. One, given the price point of luxury, there is no excuse for the product not to have the highest levels of sustainability. It has to be catered for with some of the products, whether it's leather, whether it's crocodile skin, maybe that consumers are wanting at the very high end. But by and large, there is no excuse for luxury companies not to have the highest levels of sustainability commitments, given the margins that they make, given the prices they charge. And I don't think consumers, I think they'll be very disappointed if any corners are cut by luxury companies, given the amount that they spent on those products. Secondly, luxury products are not something that you use once and throw away, or use twice, or use 3 times and throw away. So I think they're always going to be quite highly ranked on sustainability because the products, given the quality of the manufacturer, given the quality of the raw materials, let alone given the price point, they are something that will be used over and over again. Look, for example, at the growth in the second-hand luxury market. These are products that the pre-loved, the pre-owned, they will continue to be reused and recycled much more maybe than some other products which are not in that ballpark. The final bit I would say is that you're seeing it in luxury cars. Customers are wanting, they don't just want leather seats now, they might want artificial leather seats, and people are prepared to now pay a premium for products which have a sustainability tag. So to your point on green luxury, one, I think it's expected, but two, customers are prepared not to buy the product just because it's sustainable, but they are prepared to maybe pay a premium for a product which has a higher degree of ethical or sustainability contained within it.
I see. Before saying goodbye, Adam, one last question. And forecast for this second semester, which has just begun.
So of all the questions you've asked, I suppose this is the toughest in many ways. Where are we in the outlook? So where we started with 2023 and before was such strong years that we're entering a period of normalization. And that normalization is partly due to aspirational customers potentially paring back some of their spending. The higher customers are still spending quite aggressively, but also you're sitting there with a period of quite significant price increases, maybe as much as 30-40% price increases over the last 4 or 5 years. And now we're in an environment with a little bit less demand. It's much harder for brands to put through those price increases. So with the first quarter of the year being reasonably tough for luxury, we are expecting a slightly better outlook for the second half of the year. that as you're getting some tourist flows coming back from Asia should help, but also based on some of the weak comparatives from last year. But where we were looking at double-digit, sort of high single-digit, low double-digit growth for the luxury companies, I think we're now, for the next 6 to maybe 18 months, looking at the maybe low to mid-single-digit growth for the industry overall. So it will be a tougher time, but I think it will be better in the second half of the year than we saw in the first half of the year. And within that, we're probably seeing a better performance in Europe, slowly improving performance in the US, with the big question mark being China.
Thank you so much, Adam. See you soon. I hope the next time here in Milan. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank
Goodbye.
you.